Good morning, Noodlers. Hey, everybody. How we doing today on this beautiful, and I really do mean beautiful, new op day, uh, you know, uh, uh, daybreak of new op day here on April 27th, 2015. Wow. I just realized we only got, what, 3 more days? This month is over. How many deals did you do this month? Want to know how many we did? I don't have enough fingers. Can't tell you. And I'm not going to use my toes. If I use my toes, I could tell you, but that's pretty good. If you can't count how many deals you did just using your fingers, you did pretty good for the month. So, how do we do that? Well, first of all, let's say good morning to Mr. John Luyster, who is responsible for at least 50% of that, if not more. I don't know. He had an awesome month this month. Rockstar Johnny, go.
No, we were rock stars this month for sure. I would say it was probably one of the best months to date, and there is a reason for that. I'll get into that in a second. I just want to say happy new op day, everybody. Welcome to the Hangout. Welcome to the Hangout, Paul. I'm glad it's actually working for us today. You can hear me finally, which is awesome because we were having trouble on another Hangout we do in the morning. So I was a little bit concerned about how this one was going to work out. And quite frankly, I'm more excited about this Hangout than the other Hangout. So I'm glad this one's working. And the reason being is because I love the first day of the week, the new session. I love new op days, as I state every time I'm here. I love talking about real estate. I love sharing stuff with Noodlers. And I love getting information out there that could possibly help people in their path. And there is a reason why we had more deals than we can possibly count on our finger. And the key word there is systems. And Paul, did I lose Paul?
No, I just
I thought I lost him. Oh my goodness, I got scared.
Good morning.
The word there is it takes systems being put into place in order to bring the leads in, manage them, approach them, market to them, and then get them under contract, get the contract through title, get it to the person you're selling the property to, and close. There's a system in place for each one of those things. But, the key point to all of this is, and the reason why we had so much success really, besides being the right people with the right kind of drive, but we have systems.
It's so funny that you say that because I was actually going to be talking about a system today. And, it's funny. It seems that we're getting to have a recurring sort of a theme on these Hangouts here for the real estate. And this systems seems to keep coming into play. Why is that? Because, you know what? Without them, you're just running around haphazardly. Who knows what you're getting done? And, a deal here, a deal there is, as far as you're ever going to get until you start implementing and putting into place some serious systems that are, because there's a lot of working pieces to this. And there's a lot of sort of gears that have to be meshed up. And if they're not, and then when they're out of place, things don't happen and things take time. And so there's just systems have to be in place in order to, limit that time that it takes to get from point A to point B in one of the many different segments that's involved with, going from, like John said, here's a lead to here's a check.
Exactly. It's not simple at first, but you realize once your systems are developed and your systems in place, it becomes simple just to routinely just have checks show up in the mailbox. And man, there's a lot of aspects to cover here, but basically, if you want to make real money in real estate, consistent money, you need to be getting deals closing on a weekly basis. And in order to do that, you need a system. You need a way of lining these things up so that every week you got a paycheck coming in. And that's what we've developed here at sellahousearizona.com, or the Property Noodler system, is a way to keep those checks coming in week after week, continuously, consistently, with very few deviations. But it requires not just going around throwing mud at the wall, hoping this will work, trying this and trying that. And it is about trying things, but it's really more about doing things. And then when you do try something, or you do something that actually works, you stick to it and you create a system to automize that new little piece that you've discovered. So that's kind of a broad overview of why we're able to see so much success with wholesaling.
Yeah, how did we get to having a system like this? Quick little run through here. First of all, when John and I basically first started out with this, we had to step away from it and go back to work at our construction jobs. We couldn't just jump into this full time, and we couldn't do it part time really while we were doing our construction jobs, barely. But while we were away on our construction jobs, obviously, you know, we talked about this many times. We landed a couple of really good deals right out of the gate, and immediately, you know, our minds went to the fact that, you know, hey, this stuff works. This is awesome. But we're not there. We have to be working our jobs to, you know, continue this forward. What do we need? We need somebody who can do what we were doing prior to that got us these deals, and to perpetuate that sort of system. And, you know, so we hired somebody, and we ended up, you know, having them for, you know, a pretty good amount of time that they were, you know, we taught them, this is what we're doing. This is what you're going to do. Boom, boom, boom. And that's what they did. And eventually, this was supposed to work into, you know, a full-time position, but it never did. So this person ended up having to leave us, which turned out to be, you know, a gift from the universe for doing so, because when she left, all of a sudden, you know, our system was thrust back upon us, and you know, with the help of actually someone else who came in to help us at the time to maintain it, we started seeing a lot of problems with that system. So, you know, what do? We're like, oh, well, you know, we have all these problems. You don't just sit there and continue doing what you're doing. We had to make adjustments and changes, and do some things in a different way, so that, number one, it wasn't costing us as much money. And, you know, we trimmed the fat a little bit, and we were getting the same thing done more efficiently, and it costing a little bit less. Then that person that came in to help us didn't like it, decided they didn't want to do it, and it got thrust back upon John and I again. And that's when we sort of brainstormed about this whole complete system. You know, we still sort of just had a haphazard thing going there, but it was something that was producing. And so we sort of brainstormed about this whole complete system, about how to cover all the bases from A to B to make sure that everything's happening and being followed up with and everything else. And we started putting this thing together. And part of putting it together, once again, was having somebody else in here that could actually be, you know, doing it and maintaining it, and make sure that the processes, I mean, it wasn't an automated system. A physical person had to be, you know, putting it together basically, and making sure that it, you know, grinded on. And so we brought somebody in, and they started teaching them this. But here, this is a brand new thing, and, you know, we just threw it out there. We started doing it, and I mean, like, week after week after week, we're tweaking this and changing that and doing this, you know, something different here. And, oh, we don't want to do that anymore. We want to do this now, and all that kind of stuff. And I think we kind of lost her along the way a little bit as far as what she had to do. And although she was assuring us that she got it and she was doing it, when it turned out that this person ended up leaving us, once again, we realized, wow, this whole thing is kind of, you know, effed up again. And it wasn't really doing what we intended it to do. And so, boom, back again we go to work. And now, you know, eventually what we found here is something that really has sort of automated this. Well, it's transferred, actually. I mean, it took us from one system that we were doing, and it actually allowed us to branch out into another area, which we were already doing anyway. So now we still have this over here that we can continue doing, but we kind of branched off into a different direction a little bit. But we have this new system that we now put into place, and here we go. We do the same thing. First of all, we try to implement it slowly, which we seen, you know, recognized right away that wasn't going to work. I mean, that was just going to cause utter chaos. So we basically just had to, you know, roll up a big ball and just throw it at it and start sorting it out on the back end. And here we are, what, a month and a half later, we're still sorting it out on the back end. But just the fact that we implemented this new system, and this big old ball that we threw at it, I mean, it just spit out deal after deal after deal after deal for us, and it's what obviously is going to maintain us being able to do that. So, I mean, systems, you don't just go out and buy a system and plug it in and boom, you're landing deals, eating Cheetos in your underwear on the couch. It doesn't work that way. Okay, things have to build, and you have to build and grow yourself too over time. That's just the way it happens. It's only a very rare few amount of people that are those testimonial stories that they just sent out their 20 letters, got this big old deal, and they've been doing deals ever since. You know what I mean? It's a rare few people that do that. And making $100 grand a month or whatever. But I mean, we did that. We sent out a little more than 20 letters, but we sent out a whole bunch, and we landed a deal. But hey, that just didn't propel us into millionairehood. It took a while. It took a long time to go with that. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that systems, there are certain things that you can just kind of plug in a system and let it take off. But for the most part, you've got to be involved. You've got to stay where you're monitoring it and seeing what's going on and tweaking and adjusting until it gets to doing exactly what it is that you brought it in here to do. Sean, I know you're going to go crazy on that one.
System is operational, and I'll never use the word perfected. To me, the systems are never perfected. I always think there's room to always keep improving and adapting, because put it this way, what works today in sales and marketing, there are certain things that will always work in perpetuity when sales and marketing. People are people, and people are basically the same and have always been the same. But there's other factors that impact people's decision-making process, environment, economy, things of that nature. So the world is the world is constantly changing. It's not static. America's economy is always in a state of ups and downs, ups and downs. How it's portrayed on the media is always bullshit. I mean, that's not where I wanted to go with it, but always, this story, that story. So there's trends, and there's waves, and there's fads, and you've got to kind of be able to adapt your system, continually look at it and make sure it's always working, and always strive for perfection. Some people might disagree with me on that, but that's how I feel. I will say this, though.
If they disagree with you, their business is dying.
Yeah. But there are people, like Paul said, that seem like they've got the golden touch. They start off in wholesale and they land their first $20,000 deal. Boom! All of a sudden, it's like they've got one deal after another. Everything's picking up and working for those people. I will say there's those exceptional rare few all have something in common. Do you know what that is? A sales and marketing background. A background in sales and marketing. I don't care who the guru is, what program they're pitching, the latest, greatest educational product. I've got the system. All you need to do is send me $800 up front, $99 a month. You'll have the software to do everything, blah, 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 blah. They're salespeople. They have a sales and marketing background, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm saying that as that's what held Paul and I back really for so long, is that it took us almost the first full year to realize that we were in the business and sales of marketing, and we're continually sharpening and learning and growing ourselves and our sales and marketing skills. And the reason why this company is so successful and why we're coming on these hangouts and offering this ground floor opportunity to become part of our team, the reason we're at the point we are now is because we understand, we're educated on sales and marketing, we're taking actions with what we've learned over the last 4 years of doing this business, and have implemented a system that works. And we're constantly refining the system, and we constantly will be refining the system, or we'll have a system to refine the system in place eventually, because the ultimate goal of any business owner should be to eventually be able to sell that business or step away from that business and earn money in perpetuity, a passive income, that I've set up this system, it's in place, and month after month after month after month, checks just keep coming in, a passive residual income. Most business owners fail because the day they retire, their business, the day they decide they want to retire, or if they get injured or they stop working, guess what? Their income stops coming in. And the reason is they never set up a system for that business. And one of the best things I've learned in the last 3 years, bar none, is from my mentor, Jeff Fagan, is that you set up every business with the intention of selling that business. Because in order to create a sellable business, and if you have that intention set, in order to make that business sellable, it has to be a system. Example is McDonald's. People spend millions of dollars to buy and own a McDonald's franchise. Why do you think that is? Because it's a business. It's a business system actually they're buying. The product happens to be cheap hamburgers and greasy, unhealthy garbage food, but regardless, it's a system. You buy it, you implement it. The owner of the McDonald's is never there. He's not the one managing it. He's not the one flipping the burger. He's not the one getting pimples all over his face because he's standing under a freaking French fry hot lamp all day long. They bought a business system. A business system. It's a repeatable process that produces a predictable result. So that's the point I'm trying to make here.
Yeah, the owner of the McDonald's is the guy that rolls up in the Hummer and gets out and walks around the grounds and goes inside and pulls the manager aside and has a meeting in the back room and then leaves. That's the guy who's the owner.
I bring up the thing about pimples all over your face from working under the French fry lamp. I'm very intimate with a person that used to work at a McDonald's that was a pimply-faced teenager baking his face underneath a French fry lamp full of hot grease, and that was me. But I worked at this McDonald's for 1.5 years. I saw the owner 3 times. One day, because he came in and he did like an appreciation day for all the people working at his McDonald's. So he came in to meet us all and basically let us eat free McDonald's that day. Whoopity-doo-dah. We were eating it for free every day anyways. The only other time I saw him come in is he came in one time for a manager meeting, and there was literally one day where he came in, put on the old McDonald's uniform, and tried to manage the front end to, I guess, set an example for the manager. And you know what was really funny about it, Paul, is he didn't have a clue what the fuck was going on with the business system. It's like, dude, you own it, you finance it, get the fuck out of here and let us work. Seriously.
Exactly. And it's funny that you said that time frame, because I was actually just going to say, and how often do you see that happen? About once every 6 months.
Yeah.
and you just perfectly laid it out there. 1.5 years and you saw him 3 times. Yeah, that's
most of the time it was just a pain in the butt.
Yeah, right. Yeah, get the heck out of here, dude. You're just messing shit up.
You're throwing it.
Oh God, here comes the owner again. Get ready
what's
for
so
hell,
funny? And another little point to my story. It's a quote that says, "If you're the main cog in the machine, or the main cog of your business, you're the main clog of your business." And like I said, whenever he came in and tried to jump in with us, he was a clog in the system, because it's like, listen, you don't need to be here. You trying to be here is actually throwing a monkey wrench into what needs to go on here, you know? So that's another thing to think about. Once your system's created and you've got managers in place, and the right managers, if you're the main cog in the machine, you're the main clog in the machine. There's something like that. There's a saying that goes that way. And my McDonald's story kind of even relates the truth of that statement.
Yeah, and well, that's a little bit different of a scenario too, because McDonald's is a guy who has a lot of money that just buys a franchise. It's already done, and that's I mean, he literally is a plug-in. The only thing you really have to do is sit down and get yourself a manager hired. You get yourself a manager hired, he does the rest of everything. It's all right there in the little booklet. You do this, 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 and that's it. So as far as like that kind of a situation goes, especially an owner showing up in a situation like that, yeah, they don't know the first freaking thing about it, because they didn't even originally build it. Now, something that what we're talking about here with this wholesale real estate business, and what we've done here, and what most people, are going to do. Well, not most people are going to do, but what most people should be doing is, you do have to build it first. And through the course of you building it, you do understand it, how it works. But like John said, your ultimate goal in building it is always to create something that you can sell. And in order to make it something that you can sell, it has to be something that is duplicatable. Not building a business, it's not where when we say building it to sell, it's not so much that, you're building this, florist shop or, plumbing business or real estate, or, whatever it is. Not so much that you're building this particular location right here, this business, this one business right here in this ball, so that you can sell this business. What you're building is a system right here within this one business that you can sell to somebody else, and they can start another one just like it right over here. That's what you're ultimately building to sell, is a duplicatable system, something that somebody else could take exactly what you're doing. They can go to another city, town, state, country, whatever, and they could do exactly what you're doing and have the same sort of success that you're having. That's the key thing. It's not just about building this little business right here so I can sell my florist shop one day and retire. That's not the objective, because actually, especially if it's brick and mortar businesses these days. My dad, for instance, owns a barber shop. He bought it years ago. It's the most perfect location in town, right on Front Street. Everybody passes it. The shop there's always people in there. But if he put this business up for sale as a barber shop, it's probably going to be sitting on it for who knows how long. Because it's just one little business that you have to have the one right person who wants to own their own little barbershop in a small town, in the perfect place, and have their little Mayberry shop like you used to see on on Mayberry RFD, with Floyd and all that. But it's a very unique thing. But if he had a barbershop that had something unique, and he had a system in place where he didn't have to be there running this shop, and he could basically say, hey, listen, you're coming. He could advertise to the kids in barber college and say, hey, you're coming out of barber college. I have a system here that you can take anywhere in the country, whatever town you live in, set up your shop, work it like this, and you're going to have success. And boom, boom, boom. He could be having all kinds of sales on that business system. But selling his one little shop, he ain't going to get squat.
Exactly. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you wanted to keep going.
No, I thought you'd have something for that.
Yeah, the main theme today is that, it's about understanding how important it is to build business systems. You touched upon something a little earlier too. And, in order for that system to be, considered a real business system, it has to be duplicatable. It has to be something that can be repeated over and over and over and duplicated. Like what Paul and I are doing, excuse me. I don't understand what the heck. Ugh, I got like a little agita or some hiccups going on over there. What we're doing here in Phoenix is something that we absolutely plan on within 6 months taking to another market. And part of the reason why we've been throwing the invite out there to, if you're not here, and we're looking for local people really ideally, but if you're not local, you're in another market, hit us up. Let's see what market that is. Let's get you set up, or let's lay some groundwork to get set up. Because we're creating something here, a system that's duplicatable. That's a whole other little piece that we can spend 20, 30 minutes on, is about what duplication means. In fact, it's got me thinking, Paul, that we should talk about the Money Machine Express possibly on Wednesday, which runs through the 7 steps it takes to create a successful business. I'm just throwing that idea out there to Paul for Wednesday. But anyways, duplication. This system has to be a repeatable, duplicatable system that can be used over and over again to produce a predictable result. And that's kind of the point of what Paul was making there with what he brought up.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. I mean, you think when somebody buys a McDonald's that they don't know that as long as we're buying X amount of burgers and X amount of buns and X amount of fries and X amount of grease and we put X amount of people, under this building, that we're going to have X amount of people walking through that door, and there's going to be X amount of profit at the end of the day. It's pretty freaking predictable. You can almost, know exactly what it's going to be, but the day you buy it, before it's even set up, before you even hire that manager and put somebody in place. And when you have systems that you've built that are that are functioning on that kind of a level, that you just know that, hey, as long as this is in place and this is being done, it's going to create this that's going to happen, and this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and ultimately that result is going to equal, this bottom line right here. That's a duplicatable system. Now, a regular system that, a haphazard system is something that, you basically, or no system basically, is something where you do this today and it produced this result, but tomorrow you do this and it produces this result, and the next day you do this over here and it produces another result, and you're just running around, chasing your tail, doing, like the whole thing about, people always talk about having to go put out fires. Oh, I got to go put out, got all these fires to go put out today. Well, when you have a system in place, you don't have fires, because the system anticipates the problem, corrects it before it happens. Then you don't have the fire. You ultimately end up getting the result at the end of the day. That's what ends up, bogging people down, as they, and you're going to have, you're going to have to put out fires in your business when you're building it and growing it, because it's just going to happen. You just don't know everything that you need to know when you start your business. That's the bottom line. Nobody does. But the person who can take each and every fire and say, okay, what caused that fire to start with, and how did we put it out? And say, all right, we need something that's going to prevent that cause from happening. And then something that, when it starts to flare up, if it does, that what we use to put it out is right there in place to be on top of it, to put it out instantaneously, instead of letting it spread into this big old, monstrosity that it turned out to be this time. And that's basically kind of a, I don't know, oddball, weird sort of scenario. What's the word I'm looking for? Comparison or whatever to, how and what a system is and how you build one. And basically, yeah, when you have a problem and you're solving it, you got to figure out what the problem is, figure out how you solved it, put the two and two together so it doesn't happen again, and there you go. You're on your way to building a system. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I don't know, Paul. It looks like we're almost out of time here.
That went fast.
Really not much more I could say to drive home the importance of understanding about putting together a duplicatable business system. And in this case, it's a sales funnel, a marketing funnel that we use here to continually have motivated sellers calling us, and a way for us to find and reach out and contact them. So sellahousearizona.com, PropertyNoodlers@gmail. Why don't you connect with Paul or I? Doesn't matter who you are, what your interest is in wholesale real estate. Feel free to drop Paul and I a message. You want to work with our team directly, indirectly? Are you someone who's already an experienced wholesaler who has inventory that they want to sell? We're an acquisitions company. We're in acquisitions mode. We'd love to see your inventory. Or, hey, are you another investor looking for a wholesale deal? We also sell property too. So no matter who you are, what you're looking to do, and you're involved in real estate, Paul and I are two guys that you're going to want to know and connect with here in the Maricopa County, Phoenix, Arizona market. So with that being said, I'm going to toss it back to you, Paul. Any final thoughts, and go ahead and close us out of here.
I'm just going to say, for all those live in the Phoenix, Arizona area, yeah, boom, hook up. And for all those remotely in the Anywhere USA area, boom, hook up, and let's get a little chat going and see if we can start implementing a system in your neck of the woods that's going to put a lot of money in your pocket. Oh, universe, I ask not for more riches, but for more wisdom, with which to make better use of the riches given to me at birth, consisting of the power to control and direct my own mind to whatever end I might desire on this beautiful new op day. I'm going to wish everybody a happy day, and we'll see you back here on Wednesday with possibly the Money Machine Express and what the 7 steps of building a duplicatable system are. Adios.
Hey, real quick, Paul, on your